So 9 weeks post-op today. I haven't really got much to update you on from last week. So what I thought I'd do today is something a little bit different. When we have our knee surgery, generally speaking, it's the first time we've ever experienced it. Obviously, unless it's the second knee, but most of us go into it not really knowing too much about it, what to expect. And even if you do your research, there are things that they just don't tell you, things that you have to find out for yourself. So what I thought I'd do, I've picked 10 different things that I feel I wish I'd knew, or I've experienced and think it will be good for other people to know, or just sort of things that I feel are an important part of the recovery process. So that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to start from 10 down to 1 of things that I feel I want to talk about. Okay? So coming in at number 10 is where you have your surgery. Now, I'm in England, so obviously our system's slightly different to those of you who are in the States or places where, you know, your insurance pays for it. I have mine done on the National Health, so I didn't pay for my surgery. We pay taxes. I've worked all my life. I've paid my national insurance all my life. So really, you know, I have paid for it in a roundabout way, but I felt it was my right to have it done. I initially saw a consultant in my local area, and he agreed that my knees needed replacing. However, the waiting list in my local area was at least 18 months long. So I did a little bit of research. Now, what people don't realise is you don't have to have your treatment in your local area. If you make inquiries at other hospitals, other sort of centres of excellence throughout the country, and they are happy to take you, you can have it done anywhere. So from going from my consultant telling me it was an 18-month minimum waiting list, I then asked to be referred somewhere else. Although it was a drive for me, it was worth it. I saw the consultant there in May. In July, I was on the operating table. Literally 9 weeks later, I was on the operating table. I was in their system then, and they've offered me the second operation next month. So within 5 months from seeing the consultant, I would have had both knees done. Now, the reputation of where I had mine done is fantastic. They've received excellent, in fact, outstanding in their gradings. Everything about it on Trustpilot, it's 4.8. The reviews are amazing. And my experience is it was absolutely fantastic. So what I would say to you, if you're suffering, and I certainly was, don't be fobbed off with, you know, have more injections, let's see if it calms down. Unless of course that's the route you want to take, but you know yourself, when you know you're ready for your new knees, have a look around and see who can perhaps offer you something better than your local healthcare if they're not offering you something that suits you. You know, the NHS, it is on its backside at the moment, we know that, but there are other options. So come the end of October, I would have had both knees done, and I would, if I'd gone to my local area, I still would have been waiting at least another 18 months. So, you know, consider looking elsewhere. Yes, you have to travel for the op. You know, it was about 3.5 hours away where I ended up going, but it was so worth it. They were amazing in every way, and I'm so glad I did it. It's a thing called Choose and Book, or it used to be called Choose and Book. It's now Book Online or something. Your GP will know about it. And what you have to do, you have to basically, if you do the research yourself, and then you go to the GP and say, I would like to be referred to this clinic, this hospital, this health area, and they will look it up online and they will request a referral to that area. Sometimes it has to go through local triage. That's not a problem, it's just a process, an admin process it has to go through. But it's definitely worth, you know, doing your homework and seeing where there is that can treat you, because it might mean you end up getting treated literally years quicker than if you just go with your first offer. So think about that one. So number 9, do your preparation. Now, before my op, I was off sick beforehand, so I had plenty of time, but there's lots of things I did, and I'm so glad I did do them beforehand. Firstly, just make sure you're in good shape. Eat well, you know, try and get to an optimum weight if you can. just things like make sure in your best health. For example, if you've got any open wounds and things like that, they will not do the surgery. Certainly my surgeon wouldn't, because of the risk of infection. So just make sure you're in really good health, there's no viruses or anything. Keep yourself a little bit detached for 10 days or so beforehand. But then there's also the physical preparation of the home. So you're going to be on crutches or a walker. I was on crutches. You do not want any trip hazards. So have a bit of a dry run beforehand. Work out where you're going to spend your time. You're going to be beached somewhere, like the sofa or somewhere, for the best part of a month probably. So make that your home, make it comfortable, and make things accessible to you there. So just silly little things. I put a little table next to the chair I'll be sitting in, and it had things like a plug socket on with my phone charger. It had a light that I could just access from sitting there. All my books and magazines and things were there next to me. Just things that I could, I might need, the telly remote, simple little things all next to me, so that it was easy for me whilst I was sat still and I didn't have to rely on other people. And again, things like trip hazards. So how are you going to get to the toilet? You know, make sure entrances are wide enough, make sure there's no rugs, make sure other people in the family haven't left things lying around. Be quite firm about that, because you do not want to be tripping over. Now, in relation to the loo, I had a toilet seat raiser. That was brilliant, because you can't bend your leg for some time. And actually, the physical part of sitting down on the loo with your leg out straight is really difficult. If you've got a toilet raiser, you're not going down as low, so your leg can kind of just sort of like sit out the front like that, and your bottom's on the raised seat. It just makes life so much easier having that raiser. Other things in the home, so in relation to preparation, I made loads of cooked meals beforehand. Going back to what I said about keeping yourself healthy, that applies afterwards as well. It's really important to eat good food, good sort of clean food, no sort of pre-prepared stuff. You know, junk food basically. So what I did, I made loads of meals, things like fish pie stacked with vegetables, cottage pies, curries, all things homemade, fresh, and then I froze them. So when it came to mealtime, and I was on my own during the first part of my recovery, so I just literally took a meal out of the freezer, stuck it in the microwave, job done, and I was still eating good, freshly cooked food. Now, this time around, so I'm having my second op next month, I'm going to have my husband home with me. So I'm going to do exactly the same again, but I'm going to do it for 2 portions, because you don't want to be on that leg any longer than you need to be. The thing about clothes as well, what are you going to wear afterwards? I couldn't get any trousers on. In fact, I still can't. It's a weird feeling. Where you've had the operation, for me, I can only speak for myself, the scar, it's horrible, anything touching it. And things like jeans or anything sort of like heavy touching it, it's just really uncomfortable. Initially my leg was just so swollen I just couldn't get anything over my ankles. So think about what you're going to wear and get that ready beforehand. Just get a few items out somewhere easy to access, things that are comfortable. I ended up opting for sort of like, in fact I've got one on now, I'll show you, just sort of skirts that are just like stretchy cotton skirts. They're just so comfy, they're easy to just wash and dry, and you can just lounge around in them, and it's just easy. So yeah, think about what you're going to wear and be prepared for each day, just to make it easy when you're done, because to be honest, you are going to be stuck on that sofa or in your recliner chair or wherever you are, and you're not going to be able to do much at all. And yes, you know, if you've got someone who can help you, great, but you don't want to be relying on everyone for everything. So the more you can do beforehand in the preparation, the better. So yeah, be prepared, read up about it, just know, you know, learn as much as you can beforehand. I made the mistake beforehand, and it was a mistake at the time, of joining a support group, and it was a Facebook group for people who'd had knee surgery. Now, there are a lot of people on there, and pre-surgery it actually frazzled my mind. They were being honest about how painful it is, and it is, and I'll come on to that in a bit. I wouldn't suggest joining the Facebook group until you've had the surgery. Once you've had the surgery, fantastic, because it's reassurance that everybody else is feeling just like you. But up until that point, I wouldn't recommend doing that. By all means, go online, read sort of like the factual side of the operation, what they're going to do, etc., etc. But I would leave the support group until after you've had the op. Okay, so preparation, that's basically pretty much everything. Just make sure you've got everything ready. Really don't just go in on a whim and come out and then think, oh, I haven't got this, I haven't got that. You need to be prepared. Okay. So number 8, expectations. Everybody is different, and you'll have your own expectations of what you expect and how you expect things to be. There will also be other people having their expectations of what you can and can't do. It's your journey, and I will come on to that, 'cause that ties into my number 7. But be realistic. Don't be thinking that 2 weeks after the op, you are going to be back at work, you're going to be, walking miles. 2 weeks after the op, I was on the sofa, couldn't even lift my leg. Everybody's different, but for me, you've got to have realistic expectations about how many things may pan out. So don't set too many unachievable goals, because you'll just get disheartened. And also the expectations of other people. Again, people who've not had the surgery really don't understand quite how brutal it is and quite how complex it is. So one of the things I faced was people at work saying, oh, when are you going to be back? Can you come back on light duties? I couldn't even walk. I wasn't sleeping, and they have no concept of just how much involved it is, how much of a serious op it is. So their expectations are based on things that they aren't really understanding. So just, you need to manage those expectations, your own expectations, but also the expectations of other people. It is a big op. It's a serious, what do they call it? Major surgery. That's what I'm trying to say. It's major surgery with lots of risks attached. It's not just about slotting a piece of metal in your knee. They have to cut through your quad tendons. They have to, I had 55 staples. There's so many things that need to heal. So it's huge. So make sure people are aware you've had a big op, and you might not be ready to do whatever they're expecting you to do for a long time. And just be upfront about that. If you're not ready to do something, don't do it. You've got to do what's right for you. Okay. Now, linked into expectations is your journey. Everybody, and this is quite apparent, everybody recovers differently. And it doesn't matter if, Joe Bloggs, who lives down the road, was out driving in 4 weeks and doing the shopping in 5 weeks. It doesn't matter. Forget Joe Bloggs. This is about you. Everybody is different. Everybody recovers at a different rate. You have to do what is right for you. Now, one of the things, again, on the Facebook group, afterwards, after the op, I joined the Facebook group again, and I actually found that useful, because there's lots of people on there, and yes, they are on there saying, I'm really struggling, I can't do this, I can't do that, which prior to the op was quite frightening. After the op, it was reassuring. It made me realise, the fact that I couldn't do a certain thing, I'm not the only one. There's loads of people out there who are really struggling to bend, really struggling to do this, really struggling to do that. And it's it's reassuring to know that everybody's different. Now, your journey, your recovery, you need to get from A, the op, to B, the recovery. Now, going back to expectations, the kind of crossover here, I expected the A to B would look like that. So I would have my op, and each day, each week, things would get better, and eventually I would be fully recovered, and it would be a lovely, smooth journey. It's not. It is like that. So you know, you may have a little smooth bit and you think, oh, it's getting really good. And then suddenly it's like that and you're back to like 3 weeks before where you can't lift it, you can't bend it, it's swollen again. It really is an up and down roller coaster of a recovery. So, you know, as part of your expectations, expect that. Don't think it's going to be a smooth ride and it will just be slowly getting better, because suddenly something will happen and it's like, oh my God, where did that come from? You know, I'm starting to get now pain in my ankle. It's all part of the recovery. It's all part of your body adjusting to the fact you've got a new knee, you're walking differently, you're using your muscles differently, and different things will hurt. So just, yeah, be aware of that. And that actually leads me on quite nicely to my number 6, which is bizarre things. So bizarre things do happen to you, things that you just don't expect to happen. I had a leaflet, or in fact it was a very comprehensive book, I've got it over here, that they gave me with loads of questions in the back, Q&As, frequently asked questions, and it was all about things that might happen. So things like your knee being numb, that can go on for months if not years. Things like the medial pain on the inside of the kneecap, that's completely normal. Things like cramping, or zingers, you may have heard them referred to as zingers. They just randomly happen. So I remember, I think it was at week 3 maybe, I was lying in bed. I had a really good couple of days and I was lying in bed and suddenly my whole leg went into spasm, into cramp, and it stayed like that for about 2 days. It was like I had proper cramp for about 2 days. Oh, it was horrendous. You know, and up until that point, I've been walking without my crutches. I've been doing really well, and suddenly, bosh, in this comes. And it's all part of the recovery. All the nerves have been damaged. There's so much to be fixed. It's not just about, you know, the 55 staple scar that I've got. It's way beyond that. It's all the stitches internally, everything just getting itself back together. So be aware that things will happen which you think, what is that all about? And it could be quite normal. Clicking, for example, my knee clicks, and that, it says in my frequently asked questions, it's quite normal. It's all a part of the recovery of different things healing at different times, and it will eventually sort itself out. I also feel heavy. It feels like I've got a weight strapped around it. So when I was at the hospital having the op, part of our like physio session, I guess, we had 5 different sessions, but one of them was just learning about what had been done to us, and they got us to hold the false knee. And it's really heavy, much heavier than like what your normal knee would be, and I can feel that. It feels like I've got a weight strapped around my knee. Now, your brain will adjust to that, but it's going to take a little while before your brain, you know, figures that into, that's just part of me. At the moment, it's saying, what's going on here? You're carrying something around that doesn't belong to me. And it still feels like that now. So there's lots of weird things that happen. Like I said, the zingers, the cramps, the pain in all different parts of your body, lack of sleep. Lack of sleep was quite a big one. I will talk about sleep in a minute. But yeah, lots of things that you may not expect to be a side effect of what you've had done. Just be prepared for them, because there's lots of random things. And again, this is something, if you're on a chat group, you can say, has anyone else had this? And you'll find they have. The only things that, you know, sort of really you need to be wary of is the risk of infection or blood clots. So if you're feeling unwell as well, high temperature, any sort of really bad redness, swelling, heat, anything oozing pus, if you're finding it hard to breathe, things like that, that's when you need to worry. But there's lots of other little things which really aren't of concern. So they're just bizarre, they just happen, strange old things. Hey ho, it's all part of it. But anyway, that's that. So when as I said in the last bit, I had 5 physio sessions whilst I was in hospital. I stayed in hospital for 3 days. And again, when you're choosing your hospital, each hospital does different sort of like length of stay. So mine, it was NHS but through a private hospital, and I had 3 nights stay, which was fantastic because I was under their care for that time, but also I had 5 physio sessions and various other sort of sessions all about, you know, nutrition and all sorts of things. Really, really good. But when I was there, one of the things that the physio said to me was, for the next 6 weeks, your full-time job is going to be your exercises. Now, as those of you who are being done in the UK, slightly different. We don't have PTs coming to the house, or we don't go to sessions like that. You have a physio who advises you, but generally speaking, your exercising is down to you. So you will be given a sheet of exercises. It's so important to do them. It really is. It will be difficult because certainly in the early stages, your leg will be really swollen, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to promote bending and straightening, and that is the thing that you cannot do because your leg's swollen and it hurts. So it really is a vicious circle, because you need to do it, but it hurts and it's swollen. So you need to kind of find a balance whereby you're doing it and then you're doing the counter effect of the swelling to allow you to do it again. I found, so from the exercise point of view, I bought, you know, those little mini pedal bikes you get, just literally a little thing about so big, you put under a desk and you pedal. I found one of them on Facebook Marketplace for £10. That for me was absolutely brilliant. I spent hours on that, and that really got me moving. From probably week 2, I think I started using that. I also bought a skateboard. In physio, when we were at the hospital, the exercise where you put your foot on the skateboard and then you pull it back to get the range of movement, I found that really useful as well. I've got some of those bands, the resistance bands, and I tie them on the end of the bed, and then I can do my leg raises and various things. But it's really, really important to get those muscles moving, because when you first come out of the op, you can't move your leg. That's another thing you need a strap to lift your leg, because you cannot. It's like somebody else's leg just tied on the side of you. You have no control over it whatsoever. It's bizarre. I think probably week 2 I was able to start moving my leg again on my own, but even then I could lift it slightly, but I certainly couldn't get in and out of bed. So get a strap. A strap is really important. It can just be a dressing gown cord, or make yourself like a leash, like a dog lead sort of type thing, but you want something to be able to lift your leg on and off the bed, on and off the sofa, physically lifting it, because you won't be able to do it yourself. So yeah, exercising. I'm now, after about 6 weeks, when your scar's properly healed, hydrotherapy, really, really good, because you're non-weight bearing, you've got the resistance of the water, and it's letting you move. I've only recently started doing hydrotherapy, but it really is good for getting the bend and the straightening in. So yeah, and walking if you can. And walking properly, so heel planting when you're walking. Make sure that when you walk, your heel go down first and you go through your foot. It's very easy when you're injured to sort of do a foot plant, you know what I mean? So just sort of like put your foot down and just hop along. Make sure you're really thinking about that heel plant and rolling your foot through, because that is the bit that's making you straighten your leg to make you walk properly again. So yeah, exercise is really, really important to do them. And as much as you don't want to, and as much as it hurt, and it will hurt shitloads, but it's really important you do them. Now, linking into exercises, as I said, you know, it will cause it to swell. It'll be swollen anyway. Ice. Your ice routine is so important. You're going to need to, probably about 4 times a day minimum, ice your knee. Now, I initially started off with, I bought these like ice bags, which were like almost like a tam o' shanter hat with a little screw top. You put the ice in. I put surgical spirit in with water, then froze it, so it became pliable, so I could move it around and it wasn't like a frozen solid block. I used them for the first few weeks and they were okay, but I did get an ice burn. So I was using them on the back of my knee, and literally sort of like put my knee on top of the pad. So I had the pad there and the knee was on top. I had a really bad ice burn, and I've got a big area at the back of my knee now. It looks like a bruise, but it's not, it's an ice burn. And then my physio recommended getting a gravity ice machine. And I found one, again, on Facebook Marketplace. Didn't pay much for it at all, 20 odd quid or something. And it's, oh, brilliant. So you've got the, in fact, shall I go and get it? Stand by, I'll go and get it. Okay, so this is the CryoCuff cooler. I picked it up on Facebook Marketplace. I think I paid about £20 for it. And you've basically got an insulated tub which contains your water and your ice. Fill it up to about here with water first thing in the morning, then up to the top with ice. Pop the top on, and that's it for the day. It stays cool all day. Now you've got a tube which comes down and then clips onto the cuff which goes around your knee. So a nice big cuff that wraps around your leg, so most of the knee will be covered. And once it's securely on, you then clip the water in, open the valve, and all the cold water will go into here. Once that's full and nice and tight, so you've got the compression and the cold, which is a sort of double whammy, take that off and you leave it on your knee with the cold water in there. Leave it on 15-20 minutes, shouldn't leave it on much longer than that. And then just take it off your knee, pop it back on, and drain it back in. So it works on gravity. So if that's higher, the water comes into the knee pad. Oh, it's going in now, it's making my hand cold. That goes into the knee pad. If you do it that way around, obviously it goes back into the device. Really good little contraption. Definitely worth keeping your eyes open for a second-hand one of these, or if you can afford a new one, all well and good. But they are worth every penny. Really is good. It makes it really easy. I didn't get this until about week 6, and I wish I had it sooner. So for my second leg, I'm going to be using that right from the start. Hopefully it'll just make life so much easier. Number 3, sleep. Sleep for me, and it sounds like quite a lot of other people, didn't happen, still isn't happening. I'm on week 9 now. For the first 7 weeks, 8 weeks, I don't think I slept more than about 3 hours. Night before last, I had a really good sleep. I slept probably about 5 or 6 hours solid. And then last night, went to bed, 9:30, 11 o'clock, I woke up and that was it. Couldn't get back to sleep. And the reason being, because your leg, when you relax, everything else, so you're lying in bed relaxed, your leg starts healing, and all of the basically healing stuff goes into your leg and starts working. So it starts doing its stuff, it wakes it up, you're going to get your electric shock things happening, your zingers and all of that, and that all happens at night, and it really plays havoc. The way I got around that, I tried, so I was on tramadol when I was in hospital. I came out, I was still on tramadol. I used to take tramadol before bed. It still didn't take me through the night, but it eased the pain. I tried herbal sleep remedies, didn't touch it. Nothing, to be honest, nothing I've been able to take has got me to sleep through the night. It might have knocked me out initially, but within a few hours, I was awake again with the pain and the discomfort of the knee. So what I did to get round it, I just went with it. Not working. So to me, I felt, why fight it? So what I did was I would sleep when I naturally fell asleep, and when I woke up I would just make use of the time. I would do some exercises, I would make a cup of tea, come and watch some telly, and just basically go with the flow rather than stressing about the fact I wasn't sleeping, which wasn't helping, because I just wasn't sleeping and it was just keeping me awake thinking about it. So I used to, I'd try for sort of 10 minutes, 15 minutes or so to get back to sleep. And if I knew that it wasn't going to happen, I'd get up and I'd come in the lounge and I'd do bits and bobs. And then I found naturally in the afternoon, I'd be watching telly or something on the sofa and I'd drop off. And I would have another maybe a couple of hours then, maybe a couple of hours late morning, and it would just happen naturally. And for me, that worked. It might be different for you, but for me, just not fighting it and just going with the flow. I'll get back into a sleep routine when I need to, but at the moment I don't need to. I've worked shifts all my life, so I know you can adapt your sleep routine pretty easily. I'm just go with it. Like I said, last night I had a blooming horrendous night. When I just thought I cracked it the night before, then sure enough, this is what I was saying about the journey being like that. You think you're getting somewhere and then suddenly back it goes. Hopefully I'll sleep tonight. So yeah, sleep, just be aware you're not going to get much sleep. Now number 2, and it's kind of linked to sleep as well, but everything else that goes with it is mental health. This process really does take it out of you. The general anaesthetic, the spinal block, whatever you have, together with all the meds, together with the pain, together with the mental anxiety of it all, I found probably probably at about the 2 to 3 week period, I was a mental mess. I was in tears a lot. I just wasn't coping very well. It gets frustrating because, you know, 2 weeks isn't actually a very long time in the grand scheme of things, but when you're lying there unable to move, unable to do anything for 2 weeks, you're relying on other people, it seems like forever. So just be aware that this will happen, and it's quite normal. Be good to yourself. Going back to the expectations, forget everyone else. This is about you and your journey. So don't let people say, oh, you should be doing this by now, you should be doing that by now. No, bugger off. I will do what I need to do, what suits me, because it's the pressure from other people that can get you down and cause added anxiety. That was the case for me. People sort of saying, oh, when you're coming back to work, when you're doing this, when you're doing that. And I was just like, I'm not going anywhere. I was feeling really rough. You know, just go away. Let me get on with it. But no, and I also found that people, they try to understand, but they don't understand because they haven't been through it. And it's the same with anything, I guess. You know, they can say, oh yeah, I know what you feel like. Actually, you don't, because it blooming hurts, and it hurts like hell. It's the most painful thing that I have ever in my whole life done. That's the reality of it. But it does get better. So just try and focus on the fact that you're going through this pain, because it will get better. I had kind of forgotten about how things were prior to my op. And what I do now, when I'm sort of feeling a little bit either down or hurting, I look back to one day in particular. And I was at a wedding. I was at friends of ours' wedding. And this was before I had my op. And I was sat there. I had sticks with me. I couldn't walk. Everyone was getting up dancing. Everybody was going to the buffet to get food. I couldn't do anything. I was in so much pain. Everybody around me was enjoying themselves, and I was sat in a chair in agony. I was dosed up to the eyeballs on painkillers, which meant I couldn't then really drink much. Not that I'm a big drinker anyway, but you know, at a wedding you like to join in with things, have a glass of wine or whatever. I couldn't do that. And I look back at that day and I think, you know, that is what my life was like prior to the op. And I focus on that because that was it was a beautiful, beautiful day. But for me, I just could not take part in any of it. I couldn't dance, I couldn't walk about, I couldn't stand up for photos, I couldn't, you know, everything was just ruined by my knee situation. So think of a day or a situation where you've been like that. It just brings it home as to why you're going through the pain you're going through. You know, you do go through a lot. It is very painful, but look back, you know, I can do more now at this early stage of my recovery than I could do then already. You know, give it a few more months, give it a year. I'm going to be dancing on that dance floor. I'm going to be going up to the buffet, backwards and forwards up to the buffet. So just have something to focus on so that you remember why you're doing what you're doing and why you're putting yourself through so much pain. And although it may seem like it's never going to get better, it does. It does get better by degrees. Like I said, you'll have a few days back and then you'll go on again, but it will get better and you'll see the results. And, you know, those not being able to dance, not being able to go to the buffet days are going to be long behind us. So if I look all hot and sweaty, it's because we've just had a calf escape and I've been chasing it around the blooming yard trying to get it back in its pen. Not great on a dodgy leg, but there you go, it's still out. I couldn't get it, so I've just sent a text to the farmer just to say come and sort your cow out. Anyway, so number one for me is medication. Now I've always been one of these sorts of people who I never used to take anything. I remember when I first got my husband and he stayed at my house and he says, oh, where's your paracetamol? I said, I haven't got any. He goes, what do you mean you haven't got any paracetamol? I said, never use it. And I didn't have a medicine cabinet. I didn't have any paracetamol, never ever took it, just didn't. With this, I have had to totally change my attitude to that. You absolutely will need painkillers, and the old paracetamol just won't cut it. So I came out of surgery. I'd had my surgery, and I had both a general anaesthetic, a mild dose of general anaesthetic, just so I didn't know what was going on, and a spinal block. So the spinal block took away the pain, and the general just sort of kept me out of it, really. I got back to my room. I had my surgery at 2 o'clock. I got back to my room at about 5 o'clock, and the spinal block started wearing off. I immediately pressed my button and said, it is hurting like mad. So they gave me some codeine. Sorry, so just messages come through, I was just reading it. They gave me some codeine. The codeine probably, I'd had the codeine probably for about a minute or so when I just started screaming in pain, literally screaming. And I was like, I need more medicine, I need more painkillers. And they said, you've got to let the codeine work. That was the last thing I knew. I then passed out through pain. I woke up to having morphine pumped into me. I had people sort of all around me, basically saying, in through your nose, out through your mouth. The pain was horrendous, the worst pain I've ever had in my life. And from that moment on, I pretty damn quick changed my attitude in relation to taking painkillers. So my advice there would be, you will need it. Take what you're offered. Do preempt the pain. So don't sort of think, oh, I'm not in any pain, I'm not going to take them. Because by the time you realise you are in pain, it's too late for them to kick in. What you need to do is keep on top of it. So preempt what's going to happen, because it will. Every 4 hours, take what you can take. Make a little schedule. I stopped taking my tramadol at about 3 or 4 weeks. And still needed it. Every now and then now, I've still got some. I'm on just paracetamol now, and I still need that. Every now and then I will still take a tramadol or a codeine, because the paracetamol just doesn't cut it. As I said, it goes back to that. Some days you're like that when you can have your paracetamol. Other days you're like that when you need more. So don't be afraid to take whatever they offer you. The ice helps with the pain as well, obviously keeping it iced and keeping the inflammation down, because the inflammation makes the pain worse. And going back very briefly to something I mentioned before about bizarre things that happen, which is quite normal, I was bruised from my butt cheek right down to my ankle. My leg was black, my whole leg. Wasn't expecting that, but it happened. Also, they put a tourniquet around the top of your thigh to stem the blood flow, and I had really bad bruising where the tourniquet was on as well. So again, just little things that you don't really know are going to happen. But no, so that really is the things that I wanted to talk about. Things I wish perhaps I knew beforehand, things that hopefully you will be able to cut off before they happen to you that I didn't know about. Yeah, so it's a big old op. It's your journey. Take your time, take whatever they give you, follow their instructions as to doing your exercises, use your ice, go with the bizarre things, go with the lack of sleep, and it does get better. It does get better. Although you'll have steps back, it will get better. You'll get there in the end. So hopefully that's been of some use to you.